This happened to me a couple weeks ago. I was at a phone store because I was actually planning to purchase an iPhone 15 for myself, as my old phone actually died from years of using it like crazy and already had locked eyes on that phone. So here's the part where everything went down. I saw the iPhones in exhibition, and then a store clerk, the Karen of this story, approached me. I asked her that I wanted the standard iPhone 15, the smallest capacity available because that's what I could afford. At this point, this clerk tells me that they currently have it in pink color only, as other available colors ran out of stock. For the record, I saw the color lineup of the iPhone 15 when it was newly released at the time, and other than the black color, I simply didn't like the other ones, including the pink one. In fact, I kindly asked if she could check just to make sure. Guess that instantly triggered her, because she went like, "You don't like pink? You're just being homophobic. Normal people would take the phone color as it is, but you're just trying to show off your fragile masculinity." I couldn't help but facepalm myself at the dumbest scenario I could ever meet here. Discouraged from buying a phone and willing to go to another store, I tried walking out of the door, but the Karen clerk blocked the door with her cell phone in hand, attempting to take pictures of me. To have everyone in the world shun me for how evil I am. Over the color of a phone I didn't like, for fuck's sakes. The manager gets to see the entire commotion, as people were already astonished at the scene this clerk was making. But before I could walk to the manager, she goes on her tirade again. It seems that she tried to embellish the story by making me look like some homophobic scumbag and saying that gay people should just disappear, or something along those lines. I could barely hear because the rest of the people were already talking about me. Thankfully, the manager didn't seem to be having it, as I saw his unsurprised face. He asked the Karen clerk to stop, and instead, he approached me and asked what actually happened. I told him that all I wanted was to check if there was another iPhone color of that specific model, as I simply didn't like that color. I could have as well purchased a phone case at the time, but I've had enough of this nonsense. The manager went and checked, but unfortunately, pink was the only color left, and asked me if I would be able to come back next week, as they would be getting other colors back in stock. I was eventually let go and didn't look back. 1 week later, I returned to the same store and checked the same iPhones and asked for the same capacity and same model, but specifically black. They had it in stock. As I was buying that new iPhone, the manager saw me and approached me. I then realized where this was going. He apologized for what happened that last week and told me that this wasn't the first time this Karen had gone off on customers like that. As it turns out, she was pro-LGBT, but was on several radical groups that taught her to lash out like that. And that one incident was the final straw. As a result, that Karen clerk was fired. That's it for now. Was I wrong? So, this happened a few months ago while I was working retail seasonally. I was working in a garden center in Ireland. I was the main checkout worker, so I was alone at the checkout. The till area is sort of its own area because, of course, it's a big complex of garden furniture, decor, plants, etc. And TBH, it can get boring during lulls because there's nothing really to do there as a till worker. So we were allowed to turn on the radio to play music for the day. And in fact, it was something management insisted on. Just easy listening radio so as not to annoy customers, but it made it less boring. IDK, if this is the same elsewhere but on Irish radio, no matter the station, it's pretty much guaranteed that the radio station will do a news read every 1-2 hours. Usually no political slant on music stations, just a read of the top stories, including on politics, but of course the newsreaders don't take an opinion on the stories. Well, this particular day, it was a slow day. It's about an hour before closing, and I'm sort of just passing time listening to the music when the 5 o'clock news read plays. Very basic stuff, crime, traffic, except for the last story, which is about a policy the government was considering at the time, which would put more restrictions on people protesting outside hospitals that offer abortion services. Now, quick side note. Both on my beliefs and Ireland, I am vehemently pro-choice and have campaigned for choice before. But of course, I would never get into debates with customers because A, it's not worth my time, and B, it's not really the appropriate space. Lol. And for some context on Ireland, as a country with a deeply Catholic history, we only very recently managed to turn the tide on our abortion laws, with 2018 being the year we voted to repeal the amendment of our Constitution that banned it. But as I say, not worth my time to debate this at work, and TBH not really worth it to debate it here, because as I say, the position you or I have isn't important here. This news story was literally just about a proposal the government was vaguely considering at the time. Well, this story plays, and it ends with a statement from someone, I think a hospital worker, in which they say the protesters outside the hospital are a little disruptive and intimidating to patients. Now, I cannot stress this enough. The channel was not taking a position. It was just talking about the policy and got a statement from someone affected by the protesting. Well, this Karen, I want to say late 40s to early 50s, but typical wealthy Irish Range Rover driver, comes in and immediately says, practically shouts, "How can you listen to those lies all day?" At this point, I'm dumbfounded, because I was only vaguely listening to the news. I was beginning my cleanup for the day because I didn't want to hang around after closing. The conversation was as follows, as much as I can remember. Me. What? Karen. Still raised voice. You heard me? How can you listen to those lies all day? Me. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you mean. Karen. Those lies on the radio. You know it would really put me off coming in here. People are allowed to be pro-life. Me. Ignoring the abortion issue because it's not exactly the thing I want to talk about right then. Oh, I don't control the radio. Karen. Well, that radio news is all lies. You should turn it off. It's really off-putting for customers. Anyway, 3 bags of soil. Me. My manager chose the station. I'm sorry, but you'll have to take it up with her. So 3 bags of soil? Karen. You know I actually won't come back in if I hear that again. It's not acceptable to be playing those lies to your customers. Me. Right. Do you want your soil or not? Karen. Getting annoyed I won't engage with her. Yes, but I'll be complaining to head office. Me. That'll be ex-Europe. She paid then left in a huff. I called one of the guys to help her with her stuff, sent her out to wait by her car for them, and said discreetly over the earpieces to be careful. She seemed to be in a mood and not to engage with her. He came back in and said she seemed to huffing about abortion politics, and he and I had a good chuckle about it. Mentioned it to my manager, and she said, if I was to see her again, I should call her down and she'd keep an eye. If she said anything else, she'd be barred. Nice to have a manager actually on your side, LOL. Definitely not the only Karen story I have from that place, or even any retail place I've worked during my past few years at uni, but it was definitely the one that I was most dumbfounded by. Like others, it was entitlement. This lady just seemed like she was spoiling for a fight, lol. So, in 2 days I am going to be selling flan at a church holiday market. Now, the way I make it, it's set in individual ramekins. It takes almost 2 hours to make one batch. So I made it clear to everyone in the household, even talking individually to set a schedule with everyone, to make sure that I would have the kitchen to myself today, so I could make the batches of flan in time for them to be able to cook and set right. I told my aunt this multiple times, and even made sure she'd be done. She was making some pie filling for the thing she's going to be selling and decided to start on Monday. No big deal, right? Wrong. She decided she was going to make 30 jars worth of apple pie filling in 2 days and has been hogging the kitchen the entire time. At first, I thought she would at least let me have my day to make my flan since I had clarified multiple times exactly when I would need the kitchen. But no. She was already working on 2 more batches of pie filling, and on top of that, she said that the kitchen wouldn't be free until late tonight. But the thing is, she's been working into the night for 2 days now. So chances are I won't have any fucking time to make my flan during the day, I'm gonna have to stay up all fucking night to make the flan because for some reason my aunt couldn't spare the time or counter space for me to do it now. She even had the audacity to complain about how I was rushing her and taking up her time when I specified that I needed the kitchen weeks in advance. I don't know if this counts as entitled Karen behavior, but for the sake of my rant, I'm gonna say it does. Edit. Further context as to why I'm making the flan so soon before the market, it's because the flan takes around 8 hours to set, and it can go bad anywhere from 3 to 6 days after initially being made, so I have to make it as soon as I possibly can manage before the market, so it's sellable.